how's it going? Aaron here. Today we're going to be replacing the upper control arms on this Nissan Titan. The procedure is the same 2004 through 2015. Doesn't matter if it's two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. Pretty simple process. On this particular vehicle, this is a 2004. We are getting a little bit of movement out of the upper ball joint. This happens to be an aftermarket replacement with a Zerk. So, not too bad of a job. Simple hand tools, nothing too big. One note is that you will need an alignment after you do this, so make sure you plan for that. So right now I'm going to show you the tools you will need to get this off and do the job successfully. Alright, so the tools we're going to need is a 17mm, 19mm or 3/4, 7/8, pair of pliers, and a hammer just to get the ball joint off. So before we get into this video, hope you like it, hope it helps you out. If it does, please like and subscribe. Leave something in the comment section if you have any questions. So let's begin for that first step. Alright, so the first step, obviously take off the tire, jack the vehicle up, make sure it's nice and safe, exercise some safety, and use a properly rated jack and jack stand. First thing we're going to want to do after that is remove this cotter pin. As I said, this is not an OEM control arm, so the OEM one may or may not have a cotter pin in it. This one does, so I'm going to go ahead and get this off, and then we're going to work on getting this nut removed. Alright, once we got the cotter pin removed, we are free to get this nut off. I'm going to be using a 21mm to get this nut off. I don't like to take it completely off. What I like to do is take it till about halfway of it coming off, and then what we're going to do is we're going to work on getting this ball joint separated from the knuckle right here. Alright, so went ahead and separated the ball joint from the steering knuckle here. Easiest way to do that is just pound it with a sledgehammer, hit it real nice and hard right here, give it a couple taps right there, and it will break loose. If you are having some trouble, what you could do is use your pickle fork right here, or your ball joint separator, and at the end of it, hit it, and it'll eventually pop loose. I don't always like using these because if you for some reason need to put your original control arm back on, it will tear the boot and you will lose grease. So it's not really a good way if you're reusing your control arm. So now that we got it separated, we can remove this nut and work on our alignment bolts, which hold on the control arm right there and right over here. Alright, so what I like to do is you get your 17mm, have your wrench on this bolt right here on that end, and then I'm going to be using a ratcheting wrench, 19mm or 3/4, and we're going to bust this nut off right here on this side while holding our 17mm on that side. Alright, once we got the ball joint free, what we could do is take our spindle and set it aside. If you want, you could tie it through these holes, get a wire and tie it through so it doesn't move. Take special note of your brake lines and ABS sensors, make sure they're not stressed. Once your bolts are removed, you can go ahead and remove the upper control arm. As you can see here, I do have the brand new unit there. What I like to do is just make sure I do have the right side. The left side is different than the right side upper control arm, different shape, obviously to clear the shock mount, which is right up there. So once we confirmed that we do have the same part, go ahead, if your new ball joint does come with a Zerk, which mine does, go ahead and put that in on this time and pretty much reverse procedure to mount it. Alright, so we got our bolts back in, got it mounted. Now it's time to take our spindle and put our upper control arm through it. Before we tighten up those bolts, we want to kind of have an area where we know the control arms are going to be riding. If we tighten up those bolts and compress the bushings and go to move it a lot, we could end up really messing up the life of these bushings. So we want them to be kind of rested where we know that the control arm is going to be riding by doing that. Alright, so we got the spindle in place. Now we could go ahead and tighten up these bolts. One quick note, the torque spec on these bolts is 125 foot-pounds, which is pretty tight. You're going to have to hang on that wrench to get it that tight. But that's what these are. Once you have them good and tight, that's great. Then go ahead. I couldn't find a torque spec on this castle nut, so Just make sure you get this castle nut really good and tight, put your new cotter pin through it, and lock her down. Alright, once everything's tightened up, that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and grease up this Zerk, make sure it's good. Head in the shop for an alignment, make sure you do that. May not be necessary, but tires are about $350 a piece, so definitely a worthwhile investment to get in the line. So hope this video has helped. If it has, please like and subscribe. If you've got any questions, leave something in the comment section, and see you next time, guys.